LeBron should just reassemble the Thunder.
LeBron and the Cavs.
Not these Cavs.
Obviously not.
Yeah, because like, I think that this was a major indictment of LeBron hiring from his own age group.
Do you say that they should have kept Andrew Wiggins? Do you think it would have been different?
No, not because like you have to unpack so many different things that have happened since then, which is essentially Kevin Love, like his defense helping them win the championship in the last few seconds of Game 7. But I do think that they could have used a couple of more athletic 3-and-D guys who could actually hit a shot and not need oxygen.
LeBron's thing is like, I'm a camaraderie guy. Like, how many times has he said that? And it's time for his camaraderie circle to open up.
I think the problem is that the Warriors, there's no combination of players that you could realistically add to the Cavs in a way that makes sense within the rules that could still beat the Warriors. What about injuries? They come for every team.
You know, everybody talks about rest all the time.
Yeah.
The fact that the Warriors get to take most fourth quarters off, I mean, they probably play like 7 less games a year than most other teams.
Also, let's just talk about Game 3. Durant and Curry sat together for long stretches when the Warriors were behind the Cavs. So if you have the luxury of being like, yeah, we'll keep it close, and then we'll just flip the switch for the last 5 minutes.
And
it's a huge difference. Yeah.
I've said this before, they're Superman by committee. It's just like the fight is over when they decide they're ready to stop taking punches.
I mean, injuries could affect them, but injuries would have to happen to multiple players. Right.
What if Chris Paul goes to the Spurs?
He's giving it heavy consideration.
Sources say. My least favorite storyline out of these playoffs is like, no, it's only KD and LeBron. Like, forget Kawhi. Like, I'm not forgetting Kawhi.
Yeah, no.
I believe in Kawhi. We were robbed of a great Kawhi series.
But I think one thing that the Warriors exposed in that series, even though Kawhi wasn't playing, and obviously that would have changed everything, and Marcus either was hurt or washed, is that the Spurs supporting cast is a little sus.
But like, isn't every Spurs sporting cast like sus until it's not sus?
I guess so. Danny Green's LASIK. What happened? That was
It feels like
things.
every single time that Danny Green makes a shot, like the announcer's just like, "That's a huge one for Danny Green." Like,
The Spurs have been waiting for Danny Green to get back on track since Game 6.
Yeah. The Celtics. Now, I feel like because of where we work, we give an undue amount of attention to the Celtics.
Celtics are incredible.
But I think that... Does that sound that happened? Your Venmo? They are in a very interesting situation where they are going to get the #1 pick, or they could trade that pick. They are an attractive home for multiple free agents.
Yes.
They have the assets to make a trade. But I do think that this version of the Celtics, they're running up against a little bit of a clock with people's contracts. Avery, Isaiah, all these guys who are going to be up.
Al Horford, no spring chicken.
Yeah, Al Horford, no spring chicken. And I also think, frankly, like, they're secretly, not so secretly, like, they're planning for the post-Warriors era.
I just feel like they're annoying. Like, they could be another contender, or they could be, like, on the same level of the Cavs and the Warriors if they had made some moves, but they're not. So that was just, like, stuck in the morass.
Team Banana Boat.
Fuck no.
Hell no.
Team Banana
Too old.
Yes.
2 years too late.
Dwayne Wade needs to go back in time for this to work.
The one thing I would like to see is someone try to play slow it down bully ball against these guys. And it would be funny if they were like, every shot that the Banana Boat team takes is just like a 21-second
21
power
second
dribble
possession.
ISO.
It's worked against them before. I mean, of course, that was kind of like in a vacuum and during the regular season. And that was the Grizzlies, I think.
Yeah.
That came back on them, what was that, a 20-point comeback? And then ground them into dust in like the final frame of overtime.
And that's a good point. I mean, this is obviously pre-Durant, but the Grizzlies historically have given the Warriors the most trouble. What about LeBron with another team? Someone like Marcus Gasol in Memphis.
Go super big.
Super big.
The other big camaraderie guy is Mike Conley. I could just see Conley and LeBron being best friends. I could see it. I don't know.
I think it would have to be LeBron, like, in the Spurs.
The most dangerous thing to the Warriors right now is if LeBron becomes a ring chaser. If LeBron decides, you know what, I'm paid, I got Beats, I got Nike, I got all my other properties that I'm working on. I don't need the NBA money. I will be the greatest mid-level exception player of all time. Inner strife and or beef. Usually it's very difficult for two MVP caliber players to feel like they are getting the most out of their careers on the same team.
I love how hopeful the entire world is that Steph and KD hate each other. because there was that, Kerr after last game was like, oh yeah, it's KD's team now.
Yeah.
And so everybody was like, ooh.
He immediately corrected himself. Without taking a breath, he corrected himself.
Yeah.
Though. He's like, I don't mean it's his team. It's just he's not alone on this team. He's a part of the team. He was like,
He knows
clarifying.
what he said.
Yeah.
He knows
Let
exactly.
me be like 100 about
Freudian
this.
slip.
Yeah.
Draymond Green definitely was like, we need to get Kevin Durant after that
Draymond
final.
Green called him from the parking lot after Game 7.
Parking lot.
He's like in the shower,
Like the second
He
phone
wasn't
call
like,
he made.
Steph, should I call Kevin? Do you think we could use another scorer?
Right.
He was like, that's what I want to do.
Yeah.
So like that would be, eventually, that will be the beef that breaks this team.
One of the unicorns.
It will take 3 years. minimum.
I also don't think it will be Towns.
I don't think it'll be
Whoa.
Kristaps. Giannis.
Giannis is the guy.
On board the Giannis train. This is why. Giannis wants it the most of the three of those guys. He doesn't just want to be the best player, and he's like improved so much over his time in the league, but he just wants to be a star. He's charismatic. He's got a beautiful smile.
The reason why I said what I said about Towns is just I know he is like a beautiful, awesome, incredible new type of power forward.
Also seems like a
Big
great
man.
guy.
But I just feel like I watched too many Minnesota games this year to be like, yeah, like all by himself with just a little bit of help, Karl Towns is going to lead Minnesota to the promised land.
When you look at the entire league, it's like there's a ton of young talent. They're just 3 years away from being ready, and their teams are even farther, theoretically, away from being ready. It's like teams right now are saying, okay, when will the Warriors start to decline? 2 or 3 years from now? Okay, let's plan for that. What if they change the rules?
The 04-05 hand-checking rules, which
Right.
are themselves a further rule change off of like the Jordan hand-checking
Yes.
rules from the 90s, which pretty much ended the 90s basketball that all the, like these old dudes like long
Idolize.
for. But the 04-05 hand-checking rules led to 7 seconds or less, led to the pace and space, Heat and Spurs, led to drive and kick, which is essentially what you see the Warriors and the Cavs playing, which is like diving into the lane and then doing these acrobatic passes to
So
wide
bring back
open
the hand
three-point
check.
shoot.
Cool it off.
I don't necessarily long to see
Goonie ball.
Like
Let's bring it back.
basketball again, but it is. I do think that you will see a rule change about guys hunting for calls when they're
Right,
taking
three-point
threes.
shot,
But
yeah.
honestly,
call it
that
the
affects the Rockets more than the Warriors.
Also, I just want to say that's really the Chris Paul rule. Like, he is the creator and master of that, and like Harden and Steph get a lot of shit for it, but like Chris Paul invented that move, and it's fucking annoying, just like Chris
Do you
Paul.
think that there's like what realistic rule change can you foresee that would actually be a detriment to the Warriors?
I mean, like one that they wouldn't figure out how to exploit, like soon thereafter.
Like the thing that'd be the hardest for them is if you had to have a center. Like you must have a player
If you
over 6'10".
had to have a player,
But
like,
now they have
if you
KD.
made, like if you had to have like a large galumping center
Yeah.
in the middle of the floor that could like
You have to play
have their,
Zaza 30 minutes a game forever.
Yes, yes,
So
that is.
There are no rule changes. that
Yeah,
can
this.
really
I mean, if you bring back the hand check, it'll slow them down a little bit. Talent wins.
Billy! Come on, trust the process. The end of the process is beating Golden State in the finals. Am I right?
No. But it's like-